Okay, so, oops. So here we'll talk about what scientists do and how they do it, and why they do it. It's about what you will be doing this class, this semester, because as you can see here, research methods in psychology is such a course where it is intense, and it's important for you guys to actually graduate, so you can take the capstone course which is required for you to graduate. And I personally believe that this class provides you guys with the opportunity to do what we scientists do. What you'll be doing in this class is you'll learn, practice, and hone skills specific to asking right questions, adapting logical, analytical methods to find answers to such questions. So everything starts with a question. Researchers ask questions and they answer questions. So I put this small presentation here to kind of give you a big picture of what you'll be doing this semester and beyond after this semester, the next semester. So let's see. Is it recording? I guess yes. Okay, cool. So we'll talk about these three things. What do scientists do? Why do they do it? And how do they do it? And this is something important. This is something that I'll keep asking you guys throughout the semester. This kind of to reinforce, and also, and Lauren is laughing because there were days where I would come into the class and ask this question, and it's a fun thing. You'll experience that. Okay. So let's first look at what do scientists do, then why, then how. Okay, oh, we are at the end, my bad. So what do they do? What do scientists do? Well, scientists do research, right? And so will you. And this is a picture of a psychologist, Daniel Kahneman. At least for now, he's the only psychologist who received a Nobel Prize in economics. In fact, he influenced the field so much so that there is actually a new field now called behavioral economics. So this class will teach you what researchers like him do. Okay, now I'm going to give you a quick idea of this particular experiment, right? That way you know what an experiment entails, and so on and so forth. So this experiment is part of a set of studies conducted by Daniel Kahneman and his group and later on there were many other things that came out of this study that eventually led Kahneman and his group to, and another person, Tversky, I guess, they both received a Nobel Prize. So what is this study? Well, it's called the Cornell coffee mug experiment. So in this experiment, half of the participants in the study were randomly assigned to one or the other condition. Okay, and half of the participants were told that that you were given a Cornell coffee mug like this. Okay, whereas the other half were told that not you, but the person sitting next to you or another student actually received a Cornell coffee mug and not you. So they randomly assigned participants either to believe that they owned a coffee mug or that they did not, but somebody else in the class owned a coffee mug. Okay, so far so good? Okay, then participants, now this is all on a piece of paper. So they'll say, hey, it either reads you won a coffee mug or it says not one, depending on the condition they are assigned to. Then they were asked a question. And the question is pretty much same, except for whether you're owner or a non-owner of this coffee mug. And the question reads something like this, depending on the condition you are in. The question is about the value, the perceived value of the coffee mug. Are we good so far? Okay, now the question goes something like this. How much do you think, if you own it, right, if you're in this condition, right, how much do you think, how much would you be willing to sell this coffee mug that you own to your classmate who doesn't have one? Okay. To the other group, the question that goes on their paper is same, wording is same, except that they change the owner to non-owner and sell to buy. So the question would be, how much would you be willing to buy this coffee mug from your classmate who owns one? Okay, get it? So in a way, the numbers they give would represent the perceived value of the object that's there. Are we good so far? Jessica, you probably have to unmute, otherwise you'll be on this video all day long. I don't want that. I don't want you to feel, yeah, I don't know why. Something is interesting about Jessica's video. Okay, still you are on, but you all can hear me though. Am I correct? Okay, okay. So let's go. Okay, so what do you think would have happened? Okay, this is what they did. They collected these answers that these participants gave, right? Let's say there were like 100 participants in this group, 100 participants in this group. There are 100 numbers, right? Because each one of them gave a number, a perceived value of the coffee mug. And you have 100 numbers here. And they took an average of these 100 numbers, and they took an average of this 100 numbers. What do you think would have happened there? You can chime in at this point.
I have a feeling one was higher than the other.
You feel that the average of one would be higher than the other. Which one do you think would be higher, Emma?
That I don't know.
Okay, that's good. That's good. And that's exactly what they found. What they found that, oh, it's actually written down here. I don't know. Okay, high value. People who were told that you owned a cup, they actually valued it more than people who were told that they were not owners. And this is one experiment. If this were a real in-person class, I would have actually demonstrated it in class. But and we can do that now, so that's why I had to give you this information ahead of time. I did this every RMS class, first lecture day. I did it in my intro to psych class every time, and every time I do it, the average are different, at least by $6. At least by $6. Now the question is, what does it mean? What does it say? What does it imply when you get these two numbers different?
I think it implies that whenever you have something, you're more likely to place a higher value on it than if you don't have it.
Yes, exactly. So the perceived value of something changes with your ownership. Changes with your ownership. If you own something, you value it more than if you don't own it, right? So now at this point, you have to keep in mind that there are only two things here. What are those two things? And we will talk more about these variable stuff, but what are those two things? Elizabeth, you just said that, right? What is it? What are the two things that you said in your sentence?
Like having versus not having it, like possession.
Possession, ownership is one thing. And there is another thing that you said.
The value that's placed on it. So basically in relation to what if you have it, you don't have it.
Yes. Can you high five? Okay, good job. There you go. That's what it is. So this question, the question itself that researchers had for this situation was whether one influences the other, which is whether ownership of an object influences the value we place on it. And this experiment suggests that it does. And researchers actually ask questions like this all the time. They ask questions about these two things. Do you know what these two things are, Paul?
It kind of sounds like a basic concept of supply and demand.
Could be. But what are these things in general though? Like like ownership. What are the possible values of ownership in this study? What are the possibilities of this thing called ownership in this study? Participants they either believe that they, go ahead, who's that?
I was going to say like there's haves and haves not.
Yeah, it's like perceived ownership of the object, right? So this ownership has two options here. You're either an owner or a non-owner, okay? And what about the other thing? What is the other thing? Value of it. What are the possible values of this one? Whatever values they can give it to it, right? It can be $0, it can be $1, it can be $2, $3, $4, $5,000, whatever it is, right? And they're trying to see if this possible values of ownership and non-ownership is related to the possible values of the value of the object, right? And you know what these two things are called that are not constant, but that keep changing? Ownership is not constant, right? You're either an owner or a non-owner. You can be both. Similarly, the value someone places is not constant. Someone places $1, $2, $3. So anything that is not constant is called
Independent valuable. Variable. There we go.
okay. It's variable, not necessarily independent, but one of those is independent in this case. Yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah. So anything that doesn't have a constant value, but it changes from person to person, place to place, time to time is called a variable. Okay. And in this case, Emma, as you rightly said, one of them is manipulated, which is the ownership, and that's called independent variable. The other one is measured to see if this manipulation changed that measure, and that is the what variable?
Dependent.
Dependent variable. See, you guys are rocking. I mean, good job. Um, so what do researchers do is basically ask questions about such variables. They ask questions about variables. A variable is a thing that is not constant. It changes from person to person, place to place, or time to time. Let's look at one example here. Okay, I'm gonna give each one of you a chance to let's see if I can make you host. Where are you, Lauren? Okay, I'll try to make you a co-host. Okay, I want you to see if you can see an option that says poll. Do you see that option?
What's the option?
Poll.
Poll?
Like polling?
Okay.
Maybe not. Okay.
No.
Okay, that's okay. Well, I'll have to work on this poll option. Anyways, so this is what I want you to do to type in your chat. Okay, how about that? Type in your chat and answer to this question. The question is, what is your height? Just give me a number. Oh, I forgot to drink tea. You guys have to remind me, okay? This doesn't need to be a real number. Just type in number in feet, 5.6, 4.2, 3.1, 9. Whatever those things are. I think it's like foot and yeah. So what do you think this height is then? You see, these are all different, right? You all gave me 6 point, there are variables, right? So height here is a variable, okay? Now let's not worry about the independent or dependent. We're just talking about constructs called variables. Variables are anything that are not constant, but changes from person to person, place to place, time to time. Let me ask you another question. and it's okay whatever you answer. Okay, um, let's say your race. How about that? And at any point, if my questions doesn't make you comfortable, you don't need to answer. Okay. So what is race then? Do you see different varieties of answers? What is race then? Is race a variable? Yes. So researchers are interested in constructs called variables. Okay, and we'll learn more about variables later. So what do scientists do? They conduct research experiments like these. Okay. So they do research, and so will you. This is my for my first student, and he worked with me on his bachelor honors thesis, and he's actually currently doing his PhD at I think DePaul, I guess, yeah. So what do scientists do? Like he's doing now and did it when he was taking this class a long time ago. It was like design experiment, conduct experiments, analyze the data collected from the experiments, then report the results at conferences like this he's doing now, and actually publish it, which I'm pretty sure he might have done by now. Okay, so that's what he'll do, at least to an extent where for this class you'll do all those things, or at least give an opportunity to do all those things. Okay, so that is about what scientists do. Well, the question is, why do they do it? The purpose, like why the heck do they do it? Well, the fundamental thing of doing research, the reason for doing research is to answer or to seek answers to their questions. So what do scientists do? They do research. Why? So they can answer the questions they have. Well, you can ask question again. Why do they answer the question? We don't know that. We just have questions, burning questions, and we try our best to answer these questions or set out to answer these questions. So this class is all about what these questions are the scientists ask and how to find answers to these questions. So this class will prepare you to be a scientist. So you also can ask right kinds of questions, and you can use the right methods to find answers to the question, and you'll go through this process. But keep in mind, it starts with a question, and it temporarily ends with an answer, but it will set out you on another set of questions, and it's a cyclical process of starting a question, finding an answer, starting a question, finding an answer. That's what we do, and that's what you'll do this year. So if you have any burning questions, so keep a list of those questions. We will get back to this. So what questions? These are questions we know, but what questions are these? Are there any random questions like, okay, what do you think I had breakfast this morning? What do you think I had for breakfast this morning? I apologize. Any guesses?
Oatmeal.
Like eggs, bacon.
You know what? I skipped my breakfast this morning. I know that's bad. I skipped. But is that a question that scientists would be interested in asking? Now, who cares if I had or if I did not my breakfast and what I had for breakfast? But let's look at some examples and try to see what is common in these questions. Okay, so let's look at these questions. Do majority of people in the US like Donald Trump? Oh my God. If this is not political, okay, this is just an example. Um, it doesn't matter if you like or doesn't like, and this apolitical, right? We are talking about how to answer right questions and answer them, how to ask right questions and answer them. So let's look at this. Do majority of people in the US like Donald Trump? This is a question you can answer by conducting research. Don't you think so? Yeah, okay. Now, the other question is, let's see, let me minimize this. Okay, the other question is, what is the average height of Indians? Well, Asian Indians. Well, can you answer this question? Yeah, okay. What percentage of university professors in the US support death penalty? Do you think you can answer this question? Yeah, we can answer these questions. These are the kind of questions, right? But what is common among these questions?
They can be researched and you can find data on them to answer the question.
Okay, that's right, Kinsey. What else?
All the questions look at like a certain group of people, whether that be like Indians or professors.
Okay, Kinsey? No, Mackenzie. No, that was Kinsey and this is Mackenzie. Am I correct? Is it Mackenzie?
Yeah.
Okay, Mackenzie, good job. High five. Okay, that's absolutely right. So this is about one thing that's common is that it is not about one person. For instance, the first question is the people in the US. The people in the US. The question is that's being asked is about people's opinion in the US, not about my opinion, right? Not about Mackenzie's opinion, not about Kinsey's opinion, or not about Sydney's opinion. It's about people, a group of people. That's a very good answer. And in this question, what is the population here? Indians. And this question, what is the population here?
Professors.
University professors in the US, right? So what is common, oh, there you go, is that these questions are about not one individual's value of a variable, but about a group of people. We call that population. These questions are about population. Now, what is a population then? Well, population is a group of people with common characteristics. You get it? A group of people with common characteristics. And that group of people in this case is, what is that group of people? People in the US. What is that group of people? Indians. What is the group of people here? University professors in the US. So the group itself can be a small group or a large group, as long as the group that you're interested in has some common characteristics. Are we fine here? Yeah. Okay. So what is common here is that this is all about, the questions are about, what are these questions? These questions are about population, not an individual. So what do scientists do? Do
They ask questions about
do
population and
research.
try to- okay.
Do research. What is the purpose of doing research? To ask questions and find answers. What kind of questions are these? These questions are about
Population.
population, not an individual. And a population is a group of individuals with similar characteristics. It can be a small group. If your question is about just the University of Southern Indiana, that can be a population. You can talk about all the students in the US, that can be a population. Population can be the entire world, that can be a population. Population is a group of individuals. Okay, what else is common now? Because you're doing great. I mean, come on, I'm so proud of you. What else is common
You're trying to
among these
find
questions?
like you're trying to find like an amount.
One more time, Rachel. Right?
Yeah.
What did you say?
Like you're trying to answer the question of in the form of like a quantity, like the majority of people, what's the average
Yes.
height, like a specific height and the percentage.
So what are those things? Yeah, you are hitting the nail, if that's an expression. The perfect, just that it needs a name. So these are quantifiable things that you can measure, right? What do you call such things that you can measure? And you measure because they are, why do you care to measure?
To get more of an accurate understanding of what's going on.
Okay. Is there a name for such constructs?
Is it a variable?
Yes, Kinsey, you got it right. Okay, high five now. Okay, good job. So yeah, so another thing that's common is that these questions are about population, but these questions are about variables in the population. Get it? It's about variables in the population. What do you think is the variable here? The first one.
Americans?
The Donald Trump one. The population is people in the US, right? But what is the variable about the people in the US that your question is about? What about the people in the US are you interested in?
If they like Donald Trump.
Right? Can you give a name to that?
Like supporters?
Supporters or likability, right? So the variable here is likability of Donald Trump, okay? The population here is people in the US,
yeah.
Right? So this question is about the variable Donald Trump's likability and the population of interest is this. What about this one? Second one. Chime in. Before I learn your names and start taking your names. Oh no, I will not do that to embarrass you at all.
Is it the height?
Height is the variable, right? The population is Indians.
Indian.
What about the next one?
The variable would be professors.
Professors would be variable or population?
Population. Just kidding.
So what about the population that this question is interested in?
Their support?
Their support. Their support of death penalty or their opinion about death penalty, right? So that is the variable. So what can we say? I'm going to ask you a question, and this is the question that I might sometime in the middle of the night come and knock your door virtually and say, hey, Sydney, what do researchers do? Then you'll have to say they do
research.
Research. And then I would go to Abby's apartment and knock the door. I may not do it, I'll ask Florence to do it, but Abby, why do they do research?
To ask questions and find answers.
Perfect. To find questions and to ask questions and find answers to the questions. Bree, what kind of questions are these? Who are these questions about?
People with, or a population.
Good job. This is about population. So researchers do research so they can answer questions about population, but what in the population that they are asking question about? How about Rachel Sorrells? Sorrells or Sorrells? I'm sorry.
Sorrells. And different variables.
Perfect. Okay, so say it with me. What do researchers do? What do scientists do?
Research.
Research.
Research. Why do they do it?
To
To find
ask
answers
ask
to their
questions.
questions.
And
What
get
kind of
answers.
questions are these?
Population.
Population.
Questions.
Population.
Questions about population. Questions about, let's make it a sentence. Questions about variables in the population. Questions about variables in the population. Okay, good, good. Now, so this is what it is. Likability, population, height, Indians, and so on and so forth. These questions are about variables in the population of interest. Okay, again, I will make this video available so you don't have to take notes if you don't want to. Okay, now let's look at this one now. Okay, oops. Okay, okay, now I want you to take a few moments, right? Take a few moments and jot down these questions, or just keep looking at these questions. Can you read these questions? Are these big enough? Okay, and try to answer these questions in terms of what is the population, what is the variable.
Do you want us to go through all the questions or just the first one?
That's a good thing. Actually, how about just start with the first one now?
Do you want us to answer out loud or like type it?
Okay, are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, out loud, who want to go?
The population for the first one is college students.
Okay, 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 I'll let somebody else answer the other question, the variable. Anybody else?
The variable is for female president. So whether they believe it's time to have a female president.
So yeah, that's absolutely right. Their beliefs about something. The something here is whether they believe it's high time. So their belief is the variable, and the population is the college students in the U.S. Right? Does it say in the U.S.? Yeah. Okay. Next question. What is the average weight of sumo wrestlers?
Well, the population of sumo wrestlers.
Population is sumo wrestlers, and what is the variable? Anybody else?
The variable is the weight.
Yes, the variable is weight. So good. So far, so good, right? Okay, now let's go to the other one. Now be careful here. Are males taller than females in general?
Would the population be both males and females?
Yeah, that's because the question is about them, right? So population is males and females, or say people. If those are the only genders you're taking into account, if you take more, then it will be different. But the population here is the male, female, people in general. You guys agree?
Yeah.
Okay, what is the variable?
Height.
Height is the variable. Absolutely right. Now think about it for a second. If I phrase the question, what is the height of, let's assume that there are only males and females in this regard for our discussion sake, okay? I'm going to say, what is the height of people in the world? Okay, so what is the population in that question?
Everyone?
Like people, everyone. What is the variable? Height, right? Okay. Now, how is that different from this question? in the world or in general, are males taller than females? The population we know is people in general, both males and females, right?
Mm.
People in general. Variable is height. Is there anything else here? Is there another variable here? That's my question.
Would it be that the question on the screen is comparing the two?
Yeah, yeah. Would those two be possible values of another variable? If so, what would those values be and what would that variable be? I can see Jessica nodding. Do you see another variable there? Not just height. Mackenzie, what is that? I see you nodding your head. What would that variable be?
Wouldn't it also depend on like where the study would be taking place?
Let's say
So-
this is about the entire world or just the US. Let's say that.
Oh, okay, okay.
So the population is people in the US, okay? At least the male, female people in the US. And one variable is height. Is there another variable?
Would gender be the variable, like what you identify yourself as?
Yes. So gender would be another variable. Okay? Because gender is not constant. Not everyone in the world is just male, just female, or just other, whatever things we come up with. It keeps changing from person to person. So it is a variable. So this research question is not about a variable in the population, but it is about I don't know if this is a sign, but this is about I can just give you that, but the moment your head is going through a lot of things, right? That is important for this class, which will help you remember things instead of just me giving you that. What do you think about the variables you think this question is asking about? Like one variable is gender, the other variable is height. What about these two variables is this question interesting? I don't know if there's a better.
Are you trying to see if they're connected?
Yes, relationship. Okay. Absolutely right, Mackenzie. Relationship, connection. So a research question is about a variable in the population or relationship between two or more variables in the population. Is that clear? Okay, let's look at this one now. Are males in favor of death penalty more than females? So take a moment, think about the population, think about the variable or variables. Anybody want to try? So Lauren,
Is
you're a
one-
co-host. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Is one variable like who's in favor of the death penalty?
Let's start with the population. What is the population, Brie?
Males and females?
So people in general.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Then what is one variable you said?
Whoever's in favor of the death penalty.
So whoever makes it population, right?
Okay.
So what is the variable there? That's a very good, you're getting there.
Is it
You
just
got it almost.
favor of death penalty?
Yeah, favor or opinion about death penalty, or favorable opinion about death penalty, right? So that's one of the variables. What is the other variable if there is one?
Would that also be location as well?
No, there is no location, is there? If there is a location, no.
I mean, like people in the US compared to people in India.
But that's not the question is about, is it? If it were the case, that would be a research, that would be a question. How would you phrase that question? Let's capitalize on that idea.
Like, I don't know how to phrase it, but like I don't know much about Indian culture, but wouldn't that vary depending on where you're at?
Yeah, that it could, right? Then you can ask a question like, are Indians in favor of death penalty more than Americans, or other way around? Then the country would be one variable, and the opinion about death penalty would be another variable. What would be the other variable here? One variable is opinion about death penalty, favorable opinion about death penalty. What is the other variable?
Isn't it the, oh yeah, gender, yeah.
Okay, that's what it is. Okay, I won't trick you all the time. It's only sometimes I trick you. But so yeah, when we went from here to here, that was a trick. But when we're going from here to here, it's just another example. Okay, so gender and favorability. Is there any relationship between one's gender and their opinion about death penalty? That's what it is, and these two are variables. So bottom line is this. Oops. What do researchers do?
Research.
Research.
Why do they do it?
To ask questions.
Answer questions.
And gather answers.
What kind of questions?
Questions about
Population.
variables and population.
Questions about a variable or relationship between two or more variables in the population of interest. Okay. Good. I know. Do you think you need a break at this point? What time is it? I'm going to pause here for a second, the recording. Okay. So, what do scientists do?
Conduct research.
Okay, conduct research. Why do they do it?
To answer questions.
To answer questions. And questions about?
Populations.
Variables or relationships between two or more variables in the population.
Perfect. Okay, there you go. Oops. Okay. So that's what scientists do. So we answered this question. What do they do? Why do they do it? What's the next one? How they do it. How do they do it? Well, let's take one question and try to answer this, okay? What percentage of people in the US support death penalty, right? What you can do basically is, you're a scientist, you have a question about the population. What's the population here?
Be the US.
People in the US. And what is the variable about these people in the US that this question is about?
So support.
Right? The support of death penalty, right? Now, one way to conduct that is like ask everybody in the population, right? Collect data from the entire population and then see what percentage of that population are in favor of death penalty. A simple way, right? And we often do that. Do you agree?
I mean, I would say that it's doable, but at the same time, like the method in which you try to get the question from everybody, because if you're doing it like online, maybe not everybody has access to the internet. you're not counting in like the homeless population if you're sending in flyers.
Yeah.
You know, people like walking around. So having like multiple methods of being able to collect that information.
Yes, absolutely right. It's tedious. It's not economical. Let's say 1,000 individuals, 1,000 researchers have 1,000 questions each. You cannot ask everybody in the population to answer all your questions every time someone comes with a question. It's not economical at all, right? There is a better way to do it, and that's what this class is about, and we'll talk about it. But I have a quick question, like sometimes people do collect data from the entire population. Can you think of the name for such situation?
Like a census?
Yes, census, right? But that's not what researchers do. They don't conduct census, right? They actually do something else. What would that something else be then? I'm not going to show you right away the next slide, but just think about it. Let's say you're watching news, okay? And you have seen these Gallup polls, and you have seen this this Biden and Trump's what is that? Uh, their chances of winning the race, right? How do you think they do it? Biden 53, Trump 48, whatever that is, or vice versa. Numbers keep changing, right? Do you think they ask you, each one of us?
Do they conduct a poll?
They conduct a poll, right? And what do you think they do when they conduct a poll?
Well, it's optional and you have to give consent to do it in the first place. You can't force people.
You cannot force people. You cannot force people. And you can, does it mean that you have to connect to all the people in the population and see who will answer? Or is there any other better way?
They use smaller samples of population.
That's right, Jessica. Yes. High five. Okay. Okay. Yes. So what scientists do is, instead of collecting data from the entire population of interest, they use research methods, scientific methods. And the main point of scientific method is this. They select a random sample. That's very important. They select a random sample of, say, 1,000 individuals in this case. The research question is about favorability towards death penalty in the US. So they select 1,000 individuals randomly, say they call them or something, and then see how many of these 1,000 individuals are in favor and how many are not in favor. So let's assume that out of these 1,000 individuals, 590 said that they were in favor, and 410 individuals said they are not in favor. So you calculate the percentage of those who are in favor, because that's what your question is about, right? So what is the percentage then? It's the number that said they are in favor divided by total number of individuals, which is 1,000. So 590 divided by 1,000 into 100, right? That would be how much? 59%. So the answer to the question now is that 59% of people in the US are in favor of death penalty. Is that an accurate number though? You're almost getting there, okay? I promise. Is that, can you claim that? Yeah, Rachel, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, sorry. It depends on, I mean, I guess, is it truly random, and like how many different populations are represented in your sample?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. Let's assume that it was random enough. Still, is this number indicative of the entire population or just the sample?
Would it be a big enough sample size?
Let's assume that we have like 10,000. Even then, would the number that we'll come up with, which is in this case 59%, would that be a representative of the population number?
No.
I'll give you an example. Let's say let's say Rachel conducted randomly selected 1,000 individuals and she found 59%. Okay, then Madison Wade said, hey, you know what, I'm going to do it and see if it actually matches. She will randomly select another 1,000 individuals, then she will come up with, what number do you think she'll come up with? Same 59%? No, it will change. It could be 50%. Somebody else collects another 1,000. It will change again. Each sample value will change because of error. Okay, we'll talk about those statistical terms later, right? Yes? So this is not, 59% is not about the population. You cannot 100% be sure that that's the number in the population. But this is specific to this sample that is collected. Now the question is, but we are interested, the question is about the population, not about the sample. 59% is about the samples. Now the question is, how can you go from your sample 59% value to your population X value, right? Yeah, we use probability. We use, what do we use? Probability to estimate the population values based on the sample values. Okay, the sample value is 59. Then what we'll do is we will use this probability. This is like a magic wand. Okay, we run this magic wand on this data you have, right? Which is 59% for sample, but it does something and it will give you an estimate of the population value. Then using probability, you will say, oh, you know what? I'm 90% confident that the estimated population value of this variable of interest is somewhere between 55 and 75. You see that? So researchers estimate population value based on sample values with certain degree of
certainty,
certainty or confidence. Okay, that's why in polls too, what do they say? Biden is 52, Trump is 48, and blank is 1 point or 2 points. What do you mean by that? They use this like, it can change like 2 points here and there. What do you think that is? They use the term.
The margin of error?
Yes, good job, margin of error. So you watch news next time and pay attention to that. They will talk about error. What they also should talk about, which they don't, is the confidence. Okay, most of these polls are calculated based on 95% or 99%, and the percentage will depend on the sample size. Again, we'll talk about that later. Okay, so the idea is that researchers ask questions about variables in the population or the relationship between them, right? So they'll get a sample value. Then based on that sample value, they estimate the population value in a range of probable values with a certain degree of confidence. Does it make any sense? Does it make any sense? Yes. Okay. So what do scientists do?
Research.
Why do they do it?
To answer
Answer
questions.
And how do they do it?
Using research
methods.
And the research methods, important thing is about randomly selecting a sample, right? Then calculating the sample value of that variable, then making inferences about the population value based on the sample value with certain degree of confidence. Okay, but we'll talk about this thing, okay? And this thing involves several steps. And, oops, yeah. And can you see this slide now? Like the web page? Okay, so the Blackboard site. Okay. And these are the different steps. Okay. And again, I'll go over the specific things like what happens when you take sample, what do you do with the sample, then how do you move on to make inferences. That is what this class is about. We'll go through each of one of those steps in that order, but I don't want to throw that information at you now, but we'll revisit this particular idea of sample population and estimation. Okay, this is the key thing because these are the units. These are the different things that we'll talk about throughout the semester. Are we clear on this? Yeah, I'm gonna pause recording